So, hello, my name is Omar Rapasad. It's 2:58 p.m., July 10th, 2020. So, I tweeted a bunch of tweets today and before. Um, I'm just taking my blood pressure measurements because I've been bombarded with signals all night and all today. Last night, I think the contract changed hands and the Portuguese team had it. And I heard the worker and his family was subcontracting. Um, so last night, as I was listening to something on the computer and I was lying down on the sofa, um, between my legs were constantly being pulsed, but the attention was being paid behind rather than in front of the genital area. So it was more concentrated on trying to penetrate the anus rather than the female parts in front. So it was very simple to shield. All I did was slip um, a very thick stainless steel baking pan, like this big. It was a huge one and very thick, about a foot and a half wide, and completely shielded any signals coming in. And how could you tell that? Well, the heat goes down immediately and the itching effects, if there is any, goes down. And you can actually, when any part of the body is pulsed, but especially when the openings are pulsed, you can actually feel the pulsing effect of the signals. And the signals have to be pulsed because if they're not pulsed, you're gonna get you're gonna get cooked because these are microwave signals causing a lot of heat. If it's not pulsed, your body will immediately get cooked. So it has to be pulsed. Now, the pulsing could be at varying rates, varying frequencies. So when the beams are pointed to the openings of the body, it penetrates the body and it affects the heart signals, your heart rhythm. So that's when people with any underlying conditions, heart conditions, even if it's minor, you will get it exaggerated. So I could feel the pulsing up and down, up and down, up and down in my body because I was still and I was listening to something. So I was focusing. So I could actually, as I was tuned into my body, so I could feel the pulsing effect. Now I've trained myself, still in training, to recognize this pattern um, when I'm in bed. And sometimes you're not deeply asleep. So you're aware, you're somewhat aware of your body, different levels of consciousness as you drop into sleep. um, so you're aware of your body at different levels of consciousness as you sleep. So when the signals start at different levels of consciousness, because the programming takes place at different levels of consciousness, and my throat is getting really, really dry. Um, you can feel the pulsing, and then when you drop into deep sleep, then you're not aware of the pulsing at that point. But and the same goes when you're coming out of sleep. So dropping into sleep, coming out of sleep, and these are the times when the programming is done. Because for some reason, and I'm sure the programmers know this, um, it's better for the programming to stick when you're somewhat aware of what's going on. So even if I shield at night, and of course I do, um, and when I shield, the power is turned up even higher. So the heat is turned up even higher. So the heat wakes me up, but I'm not completely awake. And right now I'm just getting pulsed in my eyes. Um, and if I had the thermometer, show you 36.6. So this side was pulsed, 36.5, 36.4, 36.4. So the 36.6 was the pulse. The air, 37.2. And my head was being pulsed all day and it was pulsed all night. Now, like I said, even though it was shielded, the heat still penetrates the shielding. So the body heats up. So what was I saying? So different levels of consciousness. So when I'm asleep and somebody logs in or a team of people log in, because gang raping, just like Russell Williams, well, let me not go there. It'll take too much time to explain. The gang raping is when the whole team logs on at the same time. So one person will concentrate on the eyes, one person will concentrate on the mouth, one person will concentrate on the ear, one person will concentrate between the legs in front, one will be in the back. And they'll do it all simultaneously, and the breast, of course. So this is what gang rape, remote gang rape is all about. And COVID-19 is leading up into remote sex, right? What I'm describing to you is remote sex, remote rape. Now, when COVID-19 is finished with us, let's say, I think it's an experiment. So when the experiment is over, we're going to end up viewing each other as very diseased, dirty, nasty humans, as opposed to robots. And we shouldn't have sex with each other, and we shouldn't be kissing each other and hugging and touching each other. So how do you have sex virtually? Virtual sex is going to come into play. And what I'm describing here is the Chinese traffickers' way of using a target to fine-tune the technology that's going to be used for remote virtual sex. Because at the end of COVID-19, we're not going to want to touch each other. See, our mouths now have diapers on it, because our mouths is just like our behinds. You know, it's dirty. Well, our behinds are not normally dirty, but our mouths are now considered, it's viewed as dirty. So our mouths are going to be perceived exactly the same way. Dirty, stinky, diseased, nasty. So will you kiss somebody? No, it's all in the head. The programming is ongoing. This is what we're going through right now. We are going through the programming. We are being conditioned to think that our mouths are dirty and our bodies are dirty. So, so what I'm describing is experiments being used for all sorts of things. And one of the things that the Chinese traffickers are using it for is to fine-tune the technology that's going to be sold or is being sold. The market is being developed with COVID-19, I suspect. That is being sold right now for virtual sex. Because the technologies that's being used in this building and the setup is around the unit with antennas, is to train people to become slaves. Sex slaves is just one type of slave. You can be any kind of slave. As the comment outside the window by the worker who I complained about making these sexual comments all the time, was we're going to go professional with it. So I heard that Tony, and I suspect Tony is the name of the contractor, bought me, meaning that he has the contract from the government, and somehow saying it's from the government seemed to make it legal because I'm a target and I'm flagged by the government based on lies. Tony owns me. So Tony could do whatever he wants with me, including traffic. So Tony's employees are taking turns subcontracting and is monitoring me, meaning that they're logging into me as I sleep at night and using the antennas that's somewhere around in the building to rape, I suspect. Because this is what's being talked about openly outside the window. So this scenario that's being played out outside my window is played out in the building for years, has been played out in the building for years, has been played out in workplaces as well. And it, of course, globally, because the account is global. So anybody from around the world can log into you. So I started getting, when the account went global before, I started getting calls from all over the world, Switzerland, Hungary, all these places. And of course, I don't answer it, but the number shows up on my phone. This programming, as I said before, started ages ago. It's done subtly and covertly, so you don't know that you're being programmed. But when they decide, the teams decide that you're going to be made aware, then you are made aware. And then the idea is that the programming is so embedded inside of you that there is no going back. There's no reversing. So you have to go forward with the program and you will become whatever it is that you're being programmed to become. So since the programming with me for years was to become a sex slave, there is no going back. Now, I never consented, number one. Number two, I was made aware of not being sold, but of being acted upon remotely by Carlos. I was somewhat aware, but not completely convinced that my body was being acted upon. But when Carlos came along and he turned up the power, and I was getting heart palpitations, my body was heating up, I was getting aches and pains, headaches, earaches, eye aches. The power was turned up so high that there was absolutely, and I got a microwave detector, there was absolutely no doubt that something was going on and somebody else was doing it. This wasn't my body, because a little part of my mind was saying, well, maybe this was some kind of a disease. But then I realized that it was not a disease, because the microwave detector was picking up signals from which I shielded. And when I did shield, the symptoms went away. So it was an external source. It was not a disease. So that's when I was made aware. So when I was made aware, then the idea was to force you to continue on that path that they thought they programmed in. Because by the time they made it aware, then they would have sold you to all kinds of people, rich people who have power and who will pretty much kill you if you don't do as you're told and go forward with the program. So, and will bring so much pressure to bear on you financially, take away everything that you have and force you into the path that they chose for you, that you will have absolutely no choice but to go forward with the program, and you will not talk because you will not have a choice. You will not whistleblow, which of course is exactly what I'm doing. Because with me, the programming, when it was done covertly, there was a flip side to that, because I meditated since I was a kid. I prayed as a child and I meditated as a teenager. I started meditating when I was a teenager. There was a part of my mind that was always aware that there was a higher power, that I was connected. We are all connected to a higher power. And for some reason with me, there's a part of my mind that is aware, that is constantly aware, I should say, because most people don't go around thinking, well, I could die anytime, I could die anytime, I could die anytime. My breath could be my last one. But for some reason, I was always consciously aware that each breath could be your last one. So keeping that in mind, it meant that I was aware that my being here in this body, in this world, was only a temporary thing. And there was something else beyond it. I was connected to something beyond my body. So I was always aware of that without being very spiritual and obviously not religious. I don't follow any religion. My religion is my heart and my soul and my conscience. I was always aware of that. So even though the rapists were, the traffickers were programming and maybe got some results on a superficial level, it never imprinted into my psyche to change who I was. So whatever changes took place and whatever I did was on a very superficial level. So this is why it's continuing, because if they don't convert me, then they set it up in such a way that it's a game, that really it's not a game, it's a life and death situation. And if I don't do as they tell me to do, because it's covert, and it's kind of like the Taliban, right? Run covertly. The Masonic groups, the satanic groups, all kind of meld together and have this program, because they all work together, all the gangs and these secret societies and the dirty military and the dirty government, they all work together, the dirty cops, they all work together to make this happen. So if you don't do as they tell you to do in a subtle way, in a covert way, then they're going to kill you. And basically that's what's going to happen. Absolutely. That is exactly what's going to happen. And having said all of that, I am going to make my stand and I will not be a slave. I can't be programmed. It's in my genes for whatever reason. I'm one of these people who cannot be programmed. Cannot be programmed. I may explore a certain situation. I may explore a certain perpetrator. I may explore a certain set of circumstances. I may explore a certain set of technologies, but it's never a permanent change in who and what I am, which is why I'm able to do this. And I'm doing this to make other people aware of how diabolical and how well thought of the program is, how sophisticated the program is. There's a lot of very, very sophisticated thinking, programming that went into this whole thing to put you in a maze, in a mental maze, so that every way that you think is out is blocked. And there is really only one way out, which is their way, the perpetrator's way, the programmer's way. And when you come out of that way, then you'll be fully programmed into exactly what they want you to be. And if you fall out of the program, they'll put you back in the maze and reprogram you and get you out again, so they can reuse you. Not going to happen with me. It's not going to happen with me. And just as a side note, remote neural monitoring is something that Elon Musk talks about openly, and people are experimenting with it. So of course, there's covert experiments going on. Remote neural monitoring doesn't need a chip. With 5G and satellites and cell phone towers and booster towers and antennas every 700 feet, 600 feet, you don't need a chip in your head. These signals can be bounced on the surface of the skull, and the spinal column in your nervous system will pick up these signals when they're modulated in a certain form, and will interpret the signals as the words that's intended to be. So the words are put into these signals, patterns of signals, and the brain will pick it up when it's pulsed into your head, the surface of your skull, with a laser, basically. And the words will be picked up on a conscious level. You will actually pick up the words. So this is not voice to skull. I'm not talking about voices in your head. I'm talking about a type of subliminal communication, which is being experimented with and talked about openly all over the net. If you just Google it, laser communication. It's used in the military as well. And this is, I mean, if you have a chip, I'm supposing it makes it easier. I don't know the details of the technology. I would imagine it makes the whole thing a lot easier. But really, you don't need a chip. And if they are using lasers, then you will get brain cancer eventually, because this is microwaves. You will get growths in your brain, and if it's not cancerous, then just benign growths, same thing. It will affect your thinking. So, and since we are being experimented on, and we are illegal experimentees, and by now we all are, it really doesn't matter whether we die or not. It doesn't matter to the people who are doing the experiments whether you're dead, whether you die in the process of being experimented with, because this is the nature of the experiment. They got to push the limit. They need to push the limit to see how far the technology or the programming can go before the experiment is finished. And if that means that you're going to die as an illegal experimentee, or the person you are acting on is going to die, then collateral damage. Let's take Vince Lee, for instance, as an example. Say, for instance, that he was an illegal experimentee and he was brain chipped. And the experimenters wanted to see whether they can convince a man to eat another human being, if they can have that much control over another human being. Maybe he was drugged, I don't know. He had a mental illness, maybe he was drugged. So he was on the bus, and he started doing what he did to the guy next to him. Interestingly enough, he was left on the bus. He was alone on the bus with the by then dead person, and he was visibly eating the person. And he was left to continue eating the person without being stopped, even though there were security outside the bus and everybody else had gotten out of the bus. So the experiment has to continue. The experiment have to continue until it ends to see how far it goes. And I'm suspecting that people like Paul Bernardo and Russell Williams were illegal experimentees too. And they kept refining the training and the programming, and they pushed it until he escalated, because he was escalating for years. And eventually he ended up doing what he did. And then he started killing his own people, military personnel. And the experimenters decided to end the experiment and pull him out, because he was getting too hot to handle, and he was killing his own people. He was getting out of control, basically. I suspect that is exactly what was going on. So with me, and my eyes are being pulsed. What the Chinese experimenters are doing is inciting my anger. See there, 37.1. Now I can't aim it directly at my eyes, but around the eyes, 36.9. So will you get angry if somebody was pointing a laser at your eyes? So when I swear, is it incited anger or is it mental illness? So could you imagine doing that between your legs all the time? $37.1. The eyes are pulsed all the time, and this is what happens. The temperature goes up and down by more than half a degree. 37.1. 36.8. Up and down. 36.7. 36.6. So no fever, but definitely the eye was pulsed, which heats up the whole area. But this is what you're going to get. Your lens will be affected. You'll have retinal detachment. It affects the pressure in the eyeballs. You get flashes. I do get a lot of flashes all the time. I get flashes all the time because my eyes are pulsed all the time. And last night my eyes were pulsed continuously. And the comment outside the window by Tony and the other guys, and I'm going to call his name because I think that's his name, who said he bought it. The comment all the time is we're going to burst your eyes. So I'm demonstrating how this experiment is being handled. And the fact that I'm talking about it and it's still happening is proof that it is an experiment and it is illegal. It is illegal activity, but fixed, or else it wouldn't be continuing, right? If it was not fixed, then the cops would have been here investigating who Tony is. Tony is a police informant. And he's being contracted to monitor, quote unquote, which is voyeurism, and to carry out the experiment, which includes torture, which is rape. So, so I digress so much. I forgot what the main point I was trying to make. So let me just, and it's going on half an hour. So I'm just going to wrap it up here. So let me just say that experiments are being carried out. It's not being talked about, obviously. We are not supposed to be talking about it. We are not being muzzled. Literally, we are being muzzled. Have to keep a secret. Literally, we are being muzzled. So people, I'm to the point where I am not going to stay quiet. I am not going to stay quiet. Not going to stay quiet. And obviously, I'm not programmed. Masturbation is not prostitution. What a woman does inside of her home is her business. Nobody's supposed to be looking at her. I don't perform for anybody. I'm nasty, I'm dirty, I don't, whatever it is that's reported about me. Well, if I'm nasty and I'm dirty, don't look. It's that simple. Don't look. If I'm ugly and dirty and whatever, don't look. It's that simple. Anyway, so again, nope, there's no consent. What I do inside my home is my business. What I say inside of my home is my business. I live stream because I cannot go to the cops. There is no emergency. If I swear, it's because getting hit in your eyes is very, 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 very it's very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. Getting hit in your eyes is, it's more upsetting than getting hit between your legs. But this is what they can do and get away with it, which is proof that it is fixed, and it is illegally fixed. It's illegal activity that is fixed, which gives anybody the right to rape, stalk, kill, torture. It's all fixed. Now, I'm publicly being targeted. There are millions and millions and millions of people out there who are being covertly targeted, and it's fixed. Completely fixed. They can do anything to these people, children especially, and it's fixed. Kids who are being pipelined to be sold into these remote sex slave ring, and then physical sex slave ring, it's fixed. Epstein's ring was fixed. Epstein didn't act alone, obviously. There were doctors, there were lawyers, there were psychiatrists, there were pharmacists. There were all these people who were serving them, feeding into them. All these people were in it. They were getting paid, most likely, by accessing the girls, most likely remotely as well as physically. So they didn't talk because they were benefiting from the ring. As the dirty cops do, they're benefiting from the ring. It's all fixed. We live in an age where, and this was my blood pressure. We live in an age where we have the power not to be enslaved. We have the power. We have the power not to be enslaved. All you have to do is find your voice and speak your truth. This is all you have to do. You don't have to pick up weapons. You don't have to go protest on the streets. You don't have to shout at any politicians. You find your voice and you speak your truth. Tell your stories. Tell what happened to you personally. Tell your life story. As a Black person, and as a lot of people are doing, not in a violent way, not in an aggressive way. Yes, you may get angry, but definitely no weapons are involved, no violence are involved. If you swear, you swear. There's no physical violence. Don't swear publicly. If you have to vent, then obviously you have to vent. This being violated is very, 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 very upsetting. So you have to get that feeling out of you. But find your voice and tell your story truthfully with evidence. If every single violated person did that, no matter what they did to you, they could blind you or threaten to blind you. If they won't think they're going to blind you, then shield your eyes. Then Google, learn, do your research, protect yourself. I wouldn't be talking without shielding myself. That would be stupid. I'm a whistleblower. I need to shield myself. They're going to come after me more aggressively than anybody else, obviously. So I shield myself. I don't want to go blind, so I shield my eyes as I sleep at night. And sometimes there are like 6 inches of shielding over my eyes. I do what I need to do to protect my eyesight. Because this is not in your head, this is actually happening. So again, tell your story truthfully. Document every single thing that happens to you. Like I'm documenting what the contractors and the Chinese traffickers are doing in this building to me. Document what is being done to you in a truthful manner with evidence. And make it public and make the politicians aware of what's going on. Make the people around you aware of what's going on. Make the public aware of what's going on with you personally in a non-violent way. You would not believe how powerful that is. And protect yourself, obviously. Learn from people like me who's putting all the information on the YouTube so you can protect yourself and you can find your voice and talk. Because I don't want anybody else, I don't want anybody to go blind. So I'm telling you, you can shield yourself. A stainless steel, aluminum netting. It's not around me right now. I wouldn't put magnets around my eyes. And I just got a pulse in my arm. I wouldn't put magnets around my eyes, but definitely you could shield with metal, anything metal. And if you have to add layers, then add layers. If you can't afford it right now, and you can't afford really expensive shielding, and I bought some of Amazon. You don't have to. Pot scrubbers, they're made out of metal. You could put layers on. And you could do, be imaginative. You can come up with things. My point is, you have to be assertive about it. You have to see the difference. 126/86. So what was it before I started talking? 110/76. And as I was talking, and I got pulse in the eye and the arm and different parts of my body, 126/86. And the heart rate 77 to 78. So the heart rate stayed, but the blood pressure went up. So I'll take this one more time and then I'll close this. And you notice the eyes are a little bit out of focus. Also notice that there are still a lot of marks on my face. It is going away, but still quite a bit. Again, it helps when I shield. I don't get a lot of burns. Sun doesn't help. Grays can easily be fixed, right? You can always color your hair. For 60, coloring my hair is not something I worry about. 124/80. So it went down. So it goes up when you get pulsed, it goes down when the power is turned off. And again, I'm sitting for the last 37 minutes, so no activity. There's no reason for my blood pressure to go up other than the signals. So let me. Now again, you don't have to agree with everything I say. Do your own research. I'm only talking about what I suspect. Okay, so I'm going to take the camera off the hook here and show you the signals. Take the hand away. And the RF reading was very, very high just now. I got a stabbing pain into the back. Reading went up to about 600 and then it disappeared. But you see the high RF reading. Somewhat high, I should say. Hand. So this number is the EF. Take the hand away. Hand. See the high RF there, the 40? That was a pulse on the left shoulder. Take the hand away. Hand. Take the hand away. Hand. Take the hand away. And this is why the blood pressure is going up and down. And take the hand away. Hand. 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 So the EF reading dropped. And the hand is actually hurting. Take the hand away. Hand. Take the hand away. So high RF reading on the hand. The EF reading. The EF reading goes into the hundreds when I get the sudden jabbing pain, stabbing pain into my body. So spots that is affected is the arm, the upper arm, the middle of the back, like a knife in your back, a stab in your back, legs, and the calf muscle, like a stab into the muscle. And it's accompanied by high RF reading. So it's penetrating the body. So it's more than 40 minutes. So I'm going to close it off there. So hopefully we'll see you another time because the power is turned up. And, you know, heart attacks can happen anytime. So every time you see these videos, it could be the last time you see me. Talk to you another time, hopefully.